Good day, everyone. Welcome to Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. I'm Emmanuel Elizabeth Adishola. I'll be taking you economics. Today we'll be talking about factors of production. Let's go. Now, today we'll be talking about factors of production. Under the factors of production, at the end of the lesson, these are the learning objectives. That is, those things that students need to know at the end of this lesson. Number one, we'll be talking about divine production. 2, list and explain each factors of production. 3, explain the meaning of land. 4, state characteristics of land. 5, enumerate the importance or contributions of land to economic growth and development.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
Firstly, we are going to look at the definition of production. At the elementary class, we've been taught different definitions of production. At the elementary class, they refer to production as the creation of goods and services to satisfy human wants. So we are going to also lay the foundation on that. We can also, another definition of production can be defined or can be taken as the creation of utility. When we talk about utility, what is utility all about? Utility is a satisfaction or pleasure or enjoyment a consumer derives or obtains in consuming a particular commodity at a particular period of time. When we talk about utility, you discover that virtually all the goods and services that a consumer go for, a consumer must derive a satisfaction in it before you can go for it. If you are not deriving any pleasure in any goods or commodity, there is no need for going for them. So when we are talking about production, it must be the creation of utility. That is the satisfaction you derive in consuming a particular commodity at a particular period of time. And we also have different types of production. Number one, we have 3 major types of production. We have what we call primary production, secondary production, and tertiary production. Let's look through the types of production. What do we mean by primary production? Primary production is the stage of extraction of raw materials, or we can say bringing out the raw materials either from the soil, from the water. Now, when we talk about the primary production, majority of all our agricultural produce goes under the primary production. And a good example of them, we talk about your cocoa, your timber, your fishing, lumbering, etc. They are good example of primary production. Note, the only thing that takes place under the primary production, it digs majorly on the extraction of raw materials. Number 2, the secondary production. At the secondary stage, that is where the transformation or conversion of those raw materials extracted at the primary stage into either semi-finished goods or finished goods. When we talk about finished goods or semi-finished goods are those goods that can be used for further productions of other goods. Now, a good example, what are the examples of secondary production? Examples are, we can talk of flour, you can also talk of gari, because you can still use it to process other things. Your flour, you can use it to process other things as well. Now, under the tertiary production now, at the tertiary stage, what goes on at the tertiary stage deals with the commerce and service. That is, we are talking about who are those people using this service, or who are those people using the goods being produced. Now, then we'll be talking about the distribution aspect of it also. We are talking about people like doctors, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, plumbers, etc. They are the examples of tertiary production. Now, that won't take us to what we talk about, what we are really talking about, which is factors of production. Now, when we talk about the factors of production, we are talking about those things that aid in the production of goods and services. Those things that helps to make those goods and services available at the right quantity and at the right time. Now, when we talk about the factors of production, we have 4 major types of production. We can talk about land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. And each of these factors of production, they have their reward. As for land, the reward for land is rent. And as for labor, the reward for labor is salary or wages. As for capital, the reward for capital is interest. And as for entrepreneur, the reward for that is profit or loss. So let's continue. So let's take each of these factors of production one after the other. Don't forget, I said all these factors of production are those things that help in the production of our goods and services. Number 1 is land. What is land? To some people, they believe land is a free gift of nature. Fine, land is a free gift of nature. Why do we refer to land as a free gift of nature? That is, they are all natural resources given to us by God or provided by God. And when we talk about those natural resources, we can talk of those ones that we can extract on the soil or in the water. Examples, you can talk about gold, you can talk about your crude oil, you can talk about your diamond, etc. Now, let's try to look at those features, those unique features or qualities of a land. Number 1 features of the land is that it is a free gift of nature. Like I said the other time, there is a free gift of nature. That is, they are those things given to us by God or provided by God. Now, number 2, its supply is fixed, meaning it cannot be increased or decreased. For example, if you have a plot of land today, going there tomorrow, that plot of land cannot increase to 2 plots of land, except by miracle. But I believe it is not possible. That is why we said its supply is fixed. It cannot be increased or decreased. Number 3, it cannot be hidden. It cannot be hidden. You can't hide it. You can't hoard it like all other products. You cannot hoard it or keep it somewhere and say, okay, I want to hoard it so that people will not see. It cannot be covered. Number 4, it is immobile, meaning it can't move from one place to another. It is static in one place. Number 4, it is subject to law of diminishing return. Now, when we talk about the law of diminishing return, that is, in terms of fertility or when you put it in use for a very long period of time, you discover that the rate of fertility, or when we talk about the nutrients, will be reduced, cannot be the same. If you have a parcel of land, maybe you have been using it for the past 5 years or thereabout, you discover that what you planted on it in the first year you first started farming on it will germinate, will bring out a bountiful harvest. After some years, maybe after 5 years, you discover that the harvest will be reducing. Maybe you've been harvesting like 10 bags of, let's say 10 bags of corn or maize on it. By the time you'll be using it for a very long period of time, you discover that the harvest will reduce maybe to 2 or 1 bag. Then we can say the law of diminishing return has set in. Number 6, it is heterogeneity, meaning it varies in terms of color, in terms of fertility, it varies. Now, when we talk about in terms of color, there are some lands in some areas. The color of that land might be white, some might be red, some might be gray in color. In terms of fertility also, it also varies in terms of fertility. You can have two different parcels of land. If you plant on them at the same period or at the same time, give them time, you discover that the rates they will germinate will be quite different from each other. That is what we mean by heterogeneity. Now, number 7, the reward on land, like I said the other time, the reward on land is rent. Now, that one takes us to the importance. What are the importance of land or uses or benefits of land, either to the individual, to the government, or to the community? Number 1, land provides us areas for agricultural activities. Majorly, once we hear anything land, first thing that comes to everybody's mind is the issue of farming. Therefore, it provides area for agricultural activity, meaning it makes farming easier. It makes farming easier. That is what we mean by agricultural activities. Number 2, provision of areas of shelter. That is, in building houses, it is land also that we make use of to build our various houses. Number 3, provision of areas for infrastructural activities, either for the individuals or for the government or for firm. Now, in terms of infrastructural facilities, we are talking about building of roads, building of hospitals, schools, recreational centers, etc. Another one, it is a source of income, either to individual, to the government, and to the firm at large. It is a major source of income for the government in terms of exporting those crops being planted by the farmers, like exporting crops like cocoa, like kola nuts, like timber, etc. like that. It generates income for the government and for the individual as well. It is also a source of employment for the individuals, for the government. When we are talking in terms of source of employment, you discover that through the agricultural activities it provides jobs for people like farmer, lumbering and fishing and etc. is a sort of employment too. Provision of transport facility for transportation. That is, in terms of creation of building of roads, it makes it easier for us to be able to carry our goods from one place to the other, or to be able to transport ourselves from one particular area to another. These are the importance of land and the features of land. Now, the next thing we are going to look at, let's quickly look at the practice questions that we have under this particular topic. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, or let me say 30 seconds to look through the question, check it very well, and make sure you attempt the question, and I will be right back. Welcome back again. Let's try to look through the question, and I believe you've attempted the questions. Number 1, define land as a factor of production. Now, when we talk about land, I said the other time, land, the major definition for land, we don't have any shortcuts. There is no shortcut definition. The major definition for land is that land is a free gift of nature, meaning it is being provided by God. Number 2, land is heterogeneous in nature. Explain this statement. Meaning, where we are talking about, I said it is one of the heterogeneous, is one of the characteristics that I mentioned under land. I said land, they are various in terms of colors, in terms of texture, in terms of fertility. So when we are talking about land is heterogeneous, meaning it varies in terms of color, in terms of texture, and in terms of fertility. That's explain that. Number 3, what is meant by production? And next, we said, if you could remember vividly, we said production is the creation of utility. And you don't stop at creation of utility. You have to buttress your point by explaining the meaning of utility. We said production is the creation of utility. Why utility is the satisfaction derives from the production of goods and services. Now, apart from that definition, you can as well give your elementary definition also, which refers to as production is the creation of goods and services for the satisfaction of human wants. Number 3b now, explain with examples the following types of production. Number 1, primary production. When we talk about primary production, remember that I said is the first stage or the first types of production, and what goes on under that stage, we said majorly is the extraction of raw materials either from the soil or from the land. Also the examples, you can give so many examples, and I said the other time all our agricultural produce, they're a good example of primary production, such as your cocoa, timber, lumbering, etc. are good examples of primary production. Under the secondary production also, I told you that the secondary production is the transformation or conversion of extraction of raw materials either into semi-finished goods or finished goods. And I said a good examples of that, we can take flour, cassava, etc. as an example of secondary production. And at the tertiary production, that is where the distribution of those goods being produced at the secondary level takes place. An example of that, we talk about teachers, lawyers, judges, carpenters, etc., plumbers, etc. And note, under this place, these are the people that makes the goods available for the final consumer. And note, production does not complete until it gets to the final users or the final consumer.
Acing your WAEC and NECO examinations has been made easy by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education with the Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO Candidates television program. Join seasoned teachers as they take you through these core subjects, targeting the exact syllabus of WAEC and NECO. Watch Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates through these social media platforms to access more educational content and give their feedback. Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Pass your examinations with flying colors.
That takes us to the end of the lesson for today. If you have any comments, suggestion, observation, you can reach us on our social media handles to drop your suggestion and your observation. Thank you. God bless you.